You've trained your brain to crave suffering every 90 seconds. Not pleasure, not distraction, suffering, and you keep going back for more. Here's what's actually happening. Every time you unlock your phone knowing nothing good is waiting for you, you're not seeking dopamine. You're seeking relief from a tension that's only 90 seconds old. Your brain has learned that discomfort accumulates in tiny intervals and your thumb has become the release valve. The problem isn't that you're addicted to pleasure. It's that you've become dependent on interrupting your own suffering, and the intervals keep getting shorter. What used to be every 5 minutes became every 2 minutes, and now your brain can't tolerate 90 seconds of continuity without needing to press the button. You've conditioned yourself into a Skinner box where the reward isn't the content you see, it's the momentary escape from the mounting tension of not checking. Picture yourself at a red light, the car idles, your hand moves before you've decided. The screen illuminates your face in that 3-second window before green. That's not boredom. That's withdrawal from your own thoughts. I know this because I watched it happen to myself over 3 years. I used to read books for hours, actual books, hardcovers with dog-eared pages and coffee stains on the margins. Then one day I realized I was checking my phone between every chapter, then between every page, then mid-paragraph. I wasn't even looking at anything specific, just unlocking, scrolling for 6 seconds through Instagram or Twitter or Reddit, locking it again. The content didn't matter. What mattered was that I couldn't sit with the feeling of not checking. The discomfort would start to build around the 70-second mark of any continuous focus, and it felt physical, like an itch behind my sternum, a tightness in my chest that spread into my shoulders, and the only thing that scratched it was the swipe. If I'd known then what I know now about what was actually happening in my brain, I would have understood I wasn't weak. I was responding exactly as designed to a conditioning protocol I never consented to. Neuroscientist Andrew Huberman identified this as ultradian rhythm disruption. Your brain naturally works in 90-minute cycles of focus followed by rest, a pattern first documented by sleep researcher Nathaniel Clayton in 1982. But when you interrupt that cycle every 90 seconds instead, you create what's called a microstress response loop. Each time you break focus, your brain releases a tiny hit of cortisol, roughly 0.3 to 0.5 micrograms per deciliter. Not enough to feel like acute stress, just enough to create a low-grade tension humming beneath your awareness that demands resolution. Then you check your phone, scrolling through notifications or messages, get a tiny drop of dopamine and the cortisol clears for about 90 seconds. Then the cycle starts again like clockwork. You've essentially turned your entire waking life into a slot machine of micro-suffering and micro-relief, pulling the lever dozens of times per hour. The neuroscience term for this is intermittent reinforcement under variable stress conditions, and it's the most powerful behavioral conditioning known to psychology, stronger even than continuous reward schedules. Here's the part that makes it pathological. Your brain starts to interpret boredom, continuity, and sustained attention as threats. Think about the last time you sat through a full movie without checking your phone. If you even remember the last time, that restless feeling that builds up wasn't impatience. It was your nervous system signaling danger because it's been longer than 90 seconds without a micro-relief hit. Your amygdala, the fear center, literally activates during extended focus now. A 2022 study from King's College London found that people who check their phones more than 60 times per day show the same amygdala hyperactivity patterns as people with generalized anxiety disorder. Not because the content is stressful. Because the act of not checking creates a withdrawal state your brain has learned to interpret as threat. The researchers tracked participants using screen time monitoring apps and fMRI scans, documenting how that phantom vibration sensation in your pocket correlates with actual cortisol spikes. Your body manufactures stress hormones in response to stillness itself. The cruelest part, the relief is real. Every time you check, you do get a tiny hit of comfort. Your cortisol does drop. The tension does release. Within seconds of unlocking your screen, your amygdala registers the threat as neutralized, which is exactly why you can't stop. This isn't a failure of willpower. This is operant conditioning functioning perfectly, the same mechanism B.F. Skinner demonstrated with pigeons pecking levers for food pellets. Your brain has learned that suffering accumulates during continuity and gets resolved through interruption. So now continuity itself becomes aversive. The very state required for deep work, meaningful conversation, creative flow, or sustained reading triggers a stress response. You've developed an allergy to your own attention span. Sitting with a book for 10 uninterrupted minutes feels like holding your breath underwater. And every time you scratch that itch, you make the allergy worse. You're not weak for checking your phones. Now here's what nobody tells you about breaking this cycle. You can't just stop checking your phone and expect your brain to suddenly tolerate 90-minute focus blocks again. That's like asking someone who's been eating every hour for 3 years to suddenly fast for a full day. Your nervous system has to be reconditioned gradually, layer by layer, like physical therapy for an injured muscle that's learned compensatory movement patterns. The first week, you're not fighting phone addiction. You're fighting a neurological withdrawal state where your amygdala is firing distress signals because you're violating a deeply learned safety pattern. Your palms might sweat. Your leg bounces involuntarily. You feel phantom vibrations in your pocket. These aren't imaginary symptoms. They're measurable stress responses as real as caffeine withdrawal headaches. This is why every dopamine detox you've tried has failed by day 3. You were treating it like a motivation problem when it's actually a nervous system reconditioning problem, requiring the same patience you'd give a sprained ankle. The discomfort you feel isn't weakness or lack of discipline. When I finally understood this, everything changed. I stopped trying to quit cold turkey and started extending the intervals by just 15 seconds at a time. 90 seconds became 105, then 120. It took me 4 months to get back to tolerating 10-minute blocks of continuity without physical discomfort, the same uncomfortable tingling in my shoulders, the same restless leg bouncing. 4 months to recondition what took 3 years to break. But here's what happened around week 6. I was reading an actual book, a paperback copy of Deep Work by Cal Newport, and I hit the 10-minute mark and the itch started, that familiar crawling sensation up my spine. But this time I recognized it not as a need, as a conditioned response. A trained behavior like Pavlov's dog salivating at a bell, and that recognition created just enough space to let it pass. The discomfort peaked around 11 minutes, my heartbeat racing slightly and then started to fade. My nervous system was learning that continuity wouldn't kill me, that boredom wasn't dangerous. Here's the uncomfortable truth about what you've lost. It's not just focus. It's your tolerance for the discomfort that precedes every meaningful thing you've ever done. Writing requires sitting with not knowing what to say, staring at that blinking cursor while your mind feels completely blank. Relationships require sitting with silence, those awkward pauses where neither person speaks and tension hangs in the air. Learning requires sitting with confusion, rereading the same paragraph 3 times while understanding eludes you. Creating requires sitting with the fear that what you're making isn't good enough, that nagging voice questioning every choice. All of these states used to be tolerable because your brain could handle 90 seconds of discomfort before demanding relief. Now it can't make it past 15. So you've systematically eliminated your capacity for the very experiences that create meaning. Not because you're lazy or undisciplined, because you've trained your nervous system to interpret any sustained discomfort as an emergency that must be interrupted immediately with a notification, a scroll, anything. So what do you do with this? First, stop treating this like a discipline problem. You're not failing at willpower, you're succeeding at conditioning. Second, the only way out is reconditioning, and that means gradually increasing your tolerance for continuous discomfort in tiny increments. 90 seconds, then 2 minutes, then 5. You're not building focus. You're desensitizing your amygdala to the feeling of sustained attention, literally rewiring the brain's threat assessment circuits through repeated exposure. Third, understand that the first 2 weeks will feel like withdrawal because it is withdrawal. Your nervous system is recalibrating its threat detection baseline. You'll experience restlessness, irritability, phantom vibrations in your pocket. The discomfort is the treatment, not the problem. And finally, recognize that every time you successfully sit with that mounting tension for just 15 seconds longer than your conditioning demands, you're not just getting your attention span back. You're reclaiming your capacity to be with difficulty, to tolerate the creative friction where original thought emerges, which is the only way anything meaningful ever gets built. Your brain didn't break by accident. It was shaped methodically by systems designed to profit from your fragmentation. Every notification, every infinite scroll, every autoplay feature was engineered by people who understand behavioral psychology better than you do. And they built these systems knowing exactly what would happen to your nervous system. This isn't a personal failure. It's a structural violence that's been normalized because everyone around you is suffering from the same conditioning. The good news is that conditioning can be reversed. The bad news is it requires you to deliberately choose discomfort every single day until your brain remembers that continuity isn't a threat. Most people won't do it. But there's one more uncomfortable truth I haven't told you yet. In tomorrow's video, we'll explore why your brain now needs conflict and outrage the same way it needs these 90-second interruptions, and what that's doing to every relationship you have. Subscribe so you don't miss it. If this video resonated with you, hit subscribe. Uncomfortable Truths drops a new uncomfortable truth tomorrow and every day after on personal finance, relationships, mindset, and productivity, and more. Turn on notifications so you're first to see it. The truth is uncomfortable, but it's always worth it.